and I'm going to present my research findings for you today and give you a little more insight into what I discovered through my action research. So the title of my action research is Building Effective Technology Professional Development Practices, because that is what I was hoping to do by the end of my study, is to realize how I could benefit with my staff development practices. So an introduction and a little bit more about what I do is I work for Friendship ISD, and I help with the technology staff development throughout all 11 of our campuses. And so basically I've been here 5 years, and I want to make sure that all teachers are able to incorporate technology into their lesson plans in order to adequately cover the TEKS. And how this aligns with our district goals: our district is moving to advance technology in our classrooms, and we are really looking to focus in on more technology being integrated into classroom lessons in order to prepare our students for jobs and for things that are going to happen to them post our district. So I kind of already mentioned the state requirements. We are required by the state of Texas to teach all of the TEKS for the different grade levels, and they're bundled together. And so we want to adequately make sure that all of our teachers have taught these so that our students have a proper understanding of technology when they move on. And some of my most recent discoveries, I guess it was the beginning of the year now, but in August I did a small survey amongst staff that participated in my staff development at the beginning of the year. And the follow-up included questions about if they were able to incorporate some staff development into their classroom. And based off of the surveys that I received back, only about 20% of teachers said that they were able to take staff development training and then incorporate that into their classroom. And so based off of that initial data, I hope to gain some insight through my action research on what I could do to make that better for teachers. So my problem statement was that the study intended to discover fundamental reasons that teachers are unable to use professional development in technology, particularly in their classroom. And again, only about 20% of the teachers previous stated that they were able to use the technology that I had trained them on. So my 3 research questions off of that first included an alignment to the instruments that I was going to use. The first one being, from one-on-one interviews did I observe that 75% of teachers sought out additional tools to help them integrate technology into their lessons. And then my second question was, will targeted support techniques for interested staff members provide 100% integration of technology? And then finally, will 50% of my surveys that I gave to teachers, will there be an agreement for the lack of use of technology in the classroom, and shed some inside light on why that was happening? Okay, my participants in my study. I asked over 140 teachers across the district at all different levels to participate in a survey that I had written, and 68 teachers actually gave me feedback and completed my survey for me. And then off of compiling that data, I then took 6 teachers, and based on their feedback that they gave on the survey, I then did follow-ups with them. The follow-ups included interviews, observations, and then one-on-one support for those teachers. And so this began in September, and then it concluded by the end of November, early December. So what was my methodology? Again, I provided the survey to 140 teachers, 68 participated, and 2 of the teachers that I had selected off of the surveys, I just completed follow-up interviews with, and then 2, I did follow-up interviews and observations. And then 2 additional teachers, I did one-on-one support for them to see if I worked with them independently, if it would help them to be able to integrate technology into their lessons. Okay, limitations of the study included, right off the bat from my survey results, it became obvious that teacher perception and interpretation of questions I was asking became very relevant to the survey, and a lot of teachers were only able to give feedback off of the technology that they currently have. So if their understanding of technology was accelerated or if it was minimal, then their feedback reflected that. And then another limitation was just the limited amount of time for the study to be concluded. If I had had more time, I could have branched out and asked more teachers for their feedback. And then finally for me is teacher availability. As we come into high testing periods at all times of the year now, it just gets harder and harder to get teachers to give you some time and to be able to work with you in those type of settings. Okay, the results of my survey. First off was, I had already kind of talked about that there was a little bit of interpretation and their perception of information was a bit skewed. And so off of that, you can see one of my questions, or actually about 3 or 4 of my questions, related to competency. And I asked teachers if they understood technology, if they were able to incorporate it, problem solve, in those type of areas. And over almost over 90% of teachers said that they felt pretty much highly confident in levels 4 and 5 of technology integration, technology use, troubleshooting, so on and so forth. So that is almost, it was close to 100% of teachers felt that they were very competent in that area. And then directly following that, I got information back on, I asked them a question about what kind of staff development they still needed, and if they felt that that was still a big part of what they needed related to technology. And over 76% said that they felt that they still needed staff development and strong staff development. So if they're highly competent, then why are we still needing staff development, was kind of a leading question. And then some of the results from my staff interviews, my themes that arose were that every teacher pretty much agreed that our current staff development practices weren't efficient. We do a high end of staff development at the beginning of the year, and then we don't do as much related to technology throughout the year. And so they all agreed that that became a problem, and they aren't able to remember all the way back to the beginning of the year what was covered. Of course, time is always a problem. They don't have enough dedicated time to work on staff development and technology, and they don't have dedicated time to help them incorporate that into their lessons. So time is always going to be a limiting factor. And finally was star chart alignment. And to kind of back up, the state of Texas has given us feedback, and every year the teachers are required to fill in star chart alignment. And they're asked different questions, and they're asked how much they understand technology incorporation into their classroom every year. And so really the star chart gives them an understanding of what the state is expecting them to do in their classroom related to technology. And so in regards to that, when teachers were asked questions that are directly related to technology integration, a lot had many misconceptions about what that actually looks like in their classroom and what that may be. And then results from my one-on-one supports were that teachers worked the best when I was able to step into their classroom and actually model a technology lesson for them. So upon working together in a one-on-one setting and creating some ideas of what that lesson plan could look like with their current content, they felt more comfortable if I stepped in and did a modeling type technique for them in the beginning. And then both of them were able to do the lesson themselves. And another theme was, again, the time factor is always going to be an issue, but some teachers needed a lot more of that support, and others only needed just a little bit more of one-on-one support in order to get them up and running. But they both needed some sort of level of modeling in order to make this happen. Okay, so what is my plan of action? I have already started, based on the information that I've gotten back from my study, I've already started to change my staff development practices, in that when I'm training staff, I make sure that what I'm covering is during a condensed time, and I always allow for time for teachers to then practice what I have taught them. And instead of covering many resources, I only cover a few and allow them to choose a resource for technology and then begin to develop something with that resource. And that has proved to be very effective. I also am going to start working on creating an adequate trainer of trainer models, and hopefully build up stronger teachers that are very, very good at technology at their campuses, and hopefully enable them to be a trainer of trainers at their location, so that we can then begin to spread the knowledge amongst all of our teachers at different campuses. And finally, I oversee our media specialists, and so I want to begin to grow them as well, so that they can be a leader at their campus level in order to help support this integration of technology and be a constant person that's always there in order to encourage technology integration and best practices. And that is all I have. Thank you very much.